Hey, thanks for joining me, folks. I really do appreciate you stopping by and checking out my little corner of the world where we have wonderful musicians on here, leaders, people of all types, just coming on here and just shooting the breeze. I'm really enjoying doing this, and I love the fact that you're here and you're listening to me and you downloaded and you're just maybe just listening live. Who knows what you're doing? I don't even know what I'm doing here. Anywho. We have a really great show today. I speak with, again, I believe this is the third time I'm speaking with Three Pairs of Boots, this duo that is from the West Coast, out with a great new album that is releasing this week as we speak in autumn 2024. Hard to believe it's autumn because it certainly doesn't feel that way here in the lovely southeastern United States. Perhaps it does out west where they're at, but I'll tell you, it still goes on for us this summer, and perhaps we'll see 80s here a little bit, and it doesn't really break till mid-October. It feels like deja vu. I say this every year, but yeah, it's still going, and it's been a rough summer like most of them, but every summer seems rougher than the one that was previously around here. Anyway, so speaking with Three Pairs of Boots from out west, they are in Northern California. Great duo. They just do some really lovely stuff. Andrew Stern and Laura Arias are what makes up Three Pairs of Boots. They'll be getting out there, coming to a town near you. I think they stay out west a lot more. It's tough getting around this country, especially with the price of gas these days and everything else. So it is a great new album. It's called Boot Scootin. I ask where that all comes from. Great tracks on there. We talk extensively about this track called Reno, which is quite interesting. Another good one. Another good standout is Long Rider. They just really pen these lovely, lovely songs and perform them to maximum, to the max. Anyway, so I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side of this. Hey, I could hear you again. Fantastic. How you guys doing in the morning for you?
Great.
Yeah, doing well. It's sunny out, so looks like a good day. Yeah, sunny California.
Sunny California, which is not always the case, depending upon where you live, Like, I mean,
Yeah, now are you guys in the northern half? I kind of remember when we were talking about this last.
yeah, we were in San Francisco for a long time. We just recently moved out to the wine country.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, that's gorgeous over there. Very
Uh,
inspirational too, I'm sure.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the songwriting changes, if it does at all, uh, with the different atmosphere.
Yeah, I would think with more inspiration as far as like the atmosphere, the environment up there, I think that could probably evoke maybe a little bit different songwriting, but great new release you have out now. How long did this one take?
Uh, Way too long. We, uh, it took similar to the previous ones. It took probably a good 7, 8 months to write and record the record.
Nice, nice.
So
Yeah, so were you able to just write as you were going along every single day? Did you just take down notes? How did you get inspired to keep going through this and compiling your information and getting it all in song form?
seems to be like, I guess you could say we're constantly writing. And then once we feel, one of us feels like something might be strong enough, uh, we go to the other and do an audition essentially. And, that's how we pick and choose songs for the next release. But I think we'll get two or three that are like, okay, these are probably good enough to make the record. And they're cohesive, maybe they have to Yeah. feel like they. But we don't, it's not like, oh, we've got 10 songs, let's go make a record. It's more like we've got two or three really good ones, let's get started. And that kind of interrupts the songwriting process for me. True. So
I'll shift from songwriting mode over to production mode. And then once the three songs are kind of ready to be sent along to be mixed, because that's the one thing we don't do here in our studio, um, then it'll shift back into songwriting. So it's we may be changing it up on the next record, but for this one, it was more like we had a couple songs, let's go produce them, and then back to songwriting. Um, she's more writing kind of most of the time, but because I'm doing most of the production, so I have to take off the songwriting hat and put on the production hat. So
Yeah.
it takes a while because we're creating the songs from the ground up, and we have other musicians playing on the record, but I don't really bring them in until later on in the process. So
Yeah. So where does the title track come from? Boot Scootin'. How did you come up with that?
uh, that one, I had written the song previously, using it with the same kind of idea behind it, which was that just trying to express that there are things that you can do in your life, where you get freedom. You get relieved of temporarily of your responsibilities. And I noticed that, like, certainly when I would be in the studio or in rehearsal, I'm not thinking about work or paying bills or anything else like that. All my responsibilities, like I left them out there at the door. And so I use dance as this expression of joy and freedom. So originally I had written the song that was more uh, square dancing
Hmm.
in its focus. And Laura's like, no, no, I'm not. That one's, not doing it for me. So, so then I went back and tried to come up with a different approach, but using the same general theme of what I wanted to express about this idea of finding something in your passion, whatever it might be, to just take a break from life, and find something that's really joyful that allows you to let go of everything else.
Hmm.
That was kind of the idea. I don't know where Boot Scootin' itself came from. I just might have just popped in my head one day, but it sort of, always looking for, there's like, for me, for songwriting, I'm looking like, where's the kernel? Where's the seed that I plant in the dirt to grow the vegetables or the herbs or the flowers or whatever. So I think having the idea about the type of song the subject I wanted to write about, um, somehow I needed to come up with some other way to use the dance motif in there. So I guess since the square dance idea got turned down, the boot scooting idea came up and blossomed.
Yeah, yeah. Are you recording in your studio? Is it on your property there now in wine
Uh,
country?
yeah, yeah. There's actually an old shed out back that we're going to take down and redo, and it's going to be, quote, a garage, but might just have a studio in there too. Uh, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, so we're just sort of temporarily in a studio room. The studio gets moved around a lot. Like in our previous house, it was in 5 different bedrooms.
Oh,
Well, like we had 4 bedrooms on the top floor, like 3 small bedrooms and a larger one, and then the downstairs had like a rumpus room. So it was downstairs first, and then it went upstairs into one room, and then it, based upon different circumstances, it kept on getting moved around. When we were doing the live streams back during the pandemic, we moved out of the primary bedroom, which was the largest room, uh, and that took over the space. It still wasn't really big enough. You really kind of need, I mean, to truly do it right, you need like a sound stage. But yeah, I've gotten really good at moving the studio around. Uh,
yeah.
The
It's
cat wants to get in on the interview.
absolutely, yes. Love having kitties come in. You know, they usually visit here quite a bit too. So, how's it great? How do you mesh as a duo? Because, like, are you like together so much? Do you have to like take breathers? How does that work? Would you consider this? It's not like mom and pop, but like, how would you consider the relationship working and then trying to keep that all going at the same time?
That's a great question. And I don't know how the heck uh, we do it. We don't seem to tire of one another's company, and we don't make conscious decisions to, take time apart or anything like that. Um, what would you say?
I would say that we're lucky to live in a house big enough
Yeah.
that,
What's that?
because
There's enough
it,
separation within our
right, our
domes.
previous house, it was a 3 floor house. This one's a 2 floor house. So yeah, we can, you know, I mean, there are days where like we won't see each other for most of the day, especially if I'm in the studio working, which is a lot. So um, somehow it does seem to allow us the freedom to sort of be apart, uh, and then pull together when we need to. So
Yeah, it seems to work out. You just get to into a rhythm, I would suppose, and it's like, wow, we really got something great going here. It just kind of reminds me of, Bruce Springsteen. I think he records a lot on his premises or whatever he's doing, but he's got the wife in the band, and they're, somehow they make that work. And I'm like wondering, wow, how do you feel about like, you're married to that person and you're working with that person? So some people really make it work.
it's I think it's challenging, and it's great when it comes together. And but I think that definitely, at least for me, and probably for her as well, uh, we're probably more honest with each other
Oh
and
yeah,
don't hold back, uh,
yeah.
as opposed to when we're working with other members. We've done a few live gigs, and you know, I'm not nearly as biting with my comments.
As long as
You
you're
know how
showing you
it is.
respect, right?
Yeah. So the other musicians get a lighter touch from me. It's like I can be a little demanding. What you say?
Definitely. But
High standards here.
Yeah.
but it's good. I mean, for myself, I just feel very safe with Andrew. I know him so well, and yeah, sometimes it can get emotional, but we always come back, within that time frame. We're always coming back, circling back, and I think that's good and it's healthy, and I think good things can come out of it. Um, it's almost like the actor's studio or something, where you're really uh, mining, uh, to create and challenging one another, and it works somehow.
I remember years ago we were on a different project and we had a manager, and we got into a huge argument in the studio. And I was texting him and he said, you're going through a big argument and you guys are pissed off and you stormed out and this is, and he goes, get back in the studio right now.
Oh
This is when
yes.
you really
Oh
want to
yeah,
create.
that's right.
Yeah,
And
yeah, you're fired
I
up.
think that
You're
it actually was good advice because that song turned out to be really good. So
That's right. He was like, this is where the magic happens.
when
So
you're really passionate, you got the
yeah,
endorphins going.
yeah.
apparently.
Yeah, but no whiskey bottles thrown or anything like that, like the
No,
Eagles.
there's no violence,
Just
just
words.
yeah, just words.
That's good. Yeah, you hear those kind of stories. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Oh,
they make it look easy on stage and then putting out the records and everything, but gosh, the drama behind the scenes with these huge acts.
oh gosh. Yeah. Can imagine. Ooh.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So have you all been traveling while you were putting this new project together? A lot of bands do that. have to try to do both. You know, you scoot in the studio for a few days, then you're back out on the road again. Did you have to do that during this time period?
No, we haven't really been playing that much live yet. So we haven't really been out on the road that much, other than just
Local.
traveling for other reasons. But no, it's really mostly been around the Bay Area for us. So
Very good. Excited about taking out this new material on the road this fall?
uh, I am excited about playing live. I think that it's interesting to see how it translates, because we're not we're not going to be going out with the most likely without with a full band. Probably going out with just acoustic bass player, maybe a multi-instrumentalist. So the songs change. I mean, the albums are, full band, but yet going out live, it's a very stripped down, and the songs change. Um, and it's sort of the real test of whether or not you have a good song. Like, does it translate all the way down to an acoustic guitar and a singer? So fortunately for us, a lot of these songs do translate well, but it's always a challenge. It's not only like, does the song work as a studio production and worthy of being on a record, at the same time, does it work, playing live? Um, and we've done some full band gigs, and that was interesting as well, because we can't at this point really recreate exactly what's on the record. And our manager said, well, she's like, that's good. She says, I don't want to go see a band that sounds just like the record. And if and when whoever comes to see Three Pairs of Boots, they'll be the same songs, but it won't be the exact same thing that you get on the record.
Yeah. And it seems to work well probably in more of these intimate rooms where, you're not trying to fill like a major auditorium. You just got like a more intimate feel. So the song is somewhat deconstructed in a way where it could probably relate better to people in a more intimate setting.
Yeah. As we get onto bigger stages, as with so many bands these days, uh, they're playing the backing tracks. And
Yes.
I really don't want to do that. I'm a big believer in, you play your instruments live. And
Yeah.
if playing live means that the songs sound a little different than the record, so be it. I don't have any uh, goals with trying to reproduce exactly what's on the record.
Yeah, I think legacy acts are kind of stuck in that rut where it's like, yeah, they expect to hear the common stuff that they've known for so many years. But a lot of people don't understand that from an engineering point of view. It's like, yeah, you're hearing violins, you're hearing an orchestra, but you're not seeing them. So, yeah, that's pre-recorded. A lot of people don't even think of that because you're so like enamored with the songs that you know.
Yeah. Become an industry standard kind of a thing. Like you say, people just accept it. Um, but yeah, so we're trying to do it the old fashioned way, I guess.
Put it this way, when I go see Marty Stewart and the Fabulous Superlatives, they're not playing the backing tracks.
Yeah.
They're kicking ass, which I mean, I love to see that kind of performance. So
Yeah. That's so true. It really is. It's unfortunate that so many people can't see through that. It's just really incredible. So putting together the album, you did your sessions in your studio. Did you have to do overdubs? Did you go through full takes? How much did it take to get each track down?
well, I mean, I have learned what's best when it comes to vocals, uh, of when to get Laura at her best. Um, we don't do like marathon vocal sessions, 10-hour days. It's counterproductive, I think. Uh, I think that her takes are really best when she's fresh. Almost, I mean, sometimes when we start and I'm laying out a basic track with, some drum loops and an acoustic guitar and trying to build the arrangement first. Because taking a song from where we just do a demo, a voice memo demo on acoustic guitar and vocal, and then into the studio, you have to, one of the first things to do as a producer is just, I have to figure out what's the arrangement, what's the order that things come in before you start getting into all the little puzzle pieces of the song. So a lot of times early on, I'll have her come in and demo vocals, and we're kind of working through the parts at that point and working through the harmonies. A lot of times, those demo vocals become the final version vocals. There's something about the freshness and getting her on the first couple of takes, as opposed to, okay, take number 47, let's do it again. Like, I think that there's also, I really try to, at least starting, to just sing through the whole song kind of thing. And just, I'm looking for a vibe. I mean, I'm a perfectionist, but I ultimately take vibe and feeling over perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so for vocal tracking, we kind of taken in little sort of 3-hour sessions, because I like to give her time to reflect, and what she did yesterday, the day before, she might be able to come back in and maybe do it a little bit differently, but she's fresh. There's a different feel to it, as opposed to, okay, let's do 10-hour days in the studio. It's just like, I can do that when I'm tracking all my other parts. Vocals are different, and everything ultimately for us and for me as a producer centers around the vocals. I'm trying to create everything around the vocals. And fortunately, we have several good, really good mix engineers who happen to have full autonomy when it comes to editing the massive amount of puzzle pieces that I put into the song. I'll get mixes back and like, hey, where's that guitar part on track number 7? That I put down. Like, well, it was getting in the way of the vocals. It's like, okay. And I've learned to not fall in love with every single part I put on every single song, because sometimes they're left on the cutting room floor.
Hmm.
So but the tracking process is it's layered. You start with the basic outline, you get the arrangement down, you get some demo vocals in, and then I start building parts. And then at some point later, Laura comes back in and starts retracking the vocals for the more definitive performances.
Sometimes the arrangement of the song completely changes.
Oh yeah.
And then we're going back, like that happened with Reno. I wrote it one way and you completely changed the arrangement of it. And you went in this really interesting direction with it. It became this very atmospheric thing. And so you just never know. And
that was a difficult one to put together, because it was just one sort of long hypnotic groove all the way through. It wasn't traditional verse, chorus, here's the bridge. No, it's just like one hypnotic roll through. And so there's a lot of very subtle things involved to make the distinction between where's the verse, where's the chorus kind of thing. Things change constantly. Like when at a certain point, I'm farming things out to our drummer. He's down in LA. The keyboard player is back in Nashville. And more so with the keys, because it's melodic, when his parts come back in, a lot of times I have to retrack guitar parts, because there may be something that he plays, like some melody line in the chorus where it's like, oh, that's an anchor part. Like there's certain anchor parts in the songs. And so sometimes the keyboard will come back in and it'll be an anchor part in a chorus, for example. I'll have to go back and retrack the 5 guitar parts I've got in
Oh
there.
gosh.
Because I use the Nashville style of recording acoustic guitars a lot, where you take the 12 string guitar and you pull all the low strings off.
Hmm.
So you record, a regular 6 string acoustic, and then you take the 12 string that only has 6 strings on it. It's all the high strings, so you can blend in that higher jangle thing. But so you're getting the feel of a 12 string, but you can determine in the
Right.
mix how much of that the top half of the 12 string you want. Because
Huh.
12 strings on their own are very thick sounding. Uh, but that means that every time I change something or I change an arrangement, uh, I might have to go back and retrack 6 guitars
That's
just
amazing.
because
Yeah.
something has
It's a
changed in the
fun day
chorus.
when
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah, that's uh, there's a lot of work involved on these records when it comes to all the stringed instruments which I'm playing. Uh, so
That's very good. Yeah. I also noticed some really good drums, like you have up upon a high horse. And that seems to come through quite a bit on that track.
he's a fantastic drummer and a really great guy to work with. He's just he has a lot of fun playing. The interesting thing about working with him, the songs start out in the studio with drum loops. I'm getting a basic feel, and then
Mm.
I'll bring him in. He's in LA, uh, and when he'll send me back 3 passes usually, and he'll send me back like the first pass is like, okay, this is close to what the drum loops were kind of intimating. And then the next pass, I'm letting it go a little bit. I'm playing a little more freely. And then the third pass, I'm kind of telling him that, initially when I started working with him, it's like I kind of like give me several variations, but the third pass, I'm just telling him, play what you hear. Like just let it all out. But the really great thing is that he sends us back video of him
Mm.
tracking in the studio. So it's so much easier because I'm comping the drum parts. He'll give me, he plays through the song 3 times, and I have to take all the bits and pieces I like from each of the passes and put it together and create one final comp track for the drums. Um, and that's a challenge because, the drums have 15 tracks, you know,
Amazing.
15 microphones in
Wow.
the drums. Uh, so it's easier to comp his drumming because I can see him visually playing. So as opposed to just seeing 15 tracks rolling along the screen in
Right. See
in
the
wave
waveforms.
format.
Right.
Uh, but I remember the first track he did for us, I showed Laura the video of him playing it. And she, like, her first comment was like, man, he plays with a lot of joy, like just super exuberant. Uh, and he's just such a good drummer. He was referred to us by one of our mix engineers who met him on a gig. He was subbing in the band called Smash Mouth,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? So he subbed in for a gig, and our mix guy was at that time was on the road with Smash Mouth, and he said this guy shows up and like I said, great, I'll give you a stereo mix. And he's like, no, I brought my own little mix box for me. I want the bass on one track. I want all the guitars on one stem. I want all the vocals on one stem, all the keys. So he had like 4 or 5 tracks going. And our engineer thought like, oh, this guy's such a prima donna. Yeah. Well, the gig, he'd never played with the band. He'd never rehearsed with the band. He said it sounded like he had been in the band for 5 years. He played it perfectly. He had his notes down on his iPad. And that's just like when we see him track in the studio and he sends us a video, he's got his notepad there and he's just got everything so dialed in. But at the
Hmm.
same time, he can just play. It's great when I just tell him, all right, give me like the safe pass. But then like when he sends me back tracks for songs, I'll usually start with the third pass because I want to see like when he's like no holds barred, just letting it out
Yeah, yeah.
like he's playing
Makes
live.
sense.
Whereas like the first pass he gives us is more like, here's the safe studio pass. Sometimes I'll use some things from there, but most of the time I'm using, the second or third pass combinations of, because that's the more exciting stuff. He plays, he can flat out rock, but then you get a song like Upon a High Horse, and he's got just beautiful brushwork,
Mm-hmm.
which I think
Could
is
say that.
a little bit of a lost art these days. Um, Not so much in Americana, but in a lot of other genres, you don't see brushwork very often on drummers.
Mm, mm. Another track that really stood out to me, Dark Sun Rising. I don't know if that's is that about a character or a specific person who shall not be named. It's very interesting lyrics.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very personal song about somebody I love very much. And yeah, that was my way of confronting my situation, confronting my feelings about this person. Uh, yeah, that was that one went deep. That cut deep for me.
Yeah, almost therapeutic in a way. It's like just get it down on paper or computer, whatever. It's just like getting the thoughts out there. It's just that could really help.
Yeah, I really can. I mean, it like you say, it's really good therapy for me.
I love doing that song. The production came together really well, and Eddie did a great mix on it. It's got a really beautiful, lush sound to it. And this record, I think overall, I was trying to break out of my sort of cliches of, things that I just would lean on all the time, both from a songwriting point of view, but also production. Like on that song in particular, I try to do some, you know, vocal arrangements that we hadn't really done a lot of before, just trying to do different things, take a different approach, trying to make things better. And that song is probably an example compared to previous records of sort of going out of my comfort zone, production wise.
Yeah, it's always about pushing the envelope, growing, and finding new ways to be involved in expression. Your closing track is really interesting too. Runaway's got backing vocals, mainly acoustic. How many are involved in the backing vocals?
Uh, that was all you. For the most part, I mean, we have our friend Greg who sings male background vocals. There are times when I really hear a men's voice in there. But most of the time, Laura's doing all the backing vocals. I think she did all the backing vocals on that one. And it's a vocal tour de force, I think. Uh, so we really, I really want to do a song that was just all acoustic, no drums, no bass. Uh,
And this was another one that, I wrote it. It was very different. The original composition is very different. And Andrew took it in this entirely different direction, vocals and melodies, as well as the music. And whoa, he really kicked my ass on that one because he was demanding some things and I wasn't sure. Because I always feel like when I'm inside a song, we're tracking, sometimes I really rely on him. And earlier I mentioned trust, the trust word. I really trust Andrew and I tell him, you know, you have to be the judge here because I can't tell I'm getting emotional in here. And that's when, I'm not making the best decisions, maybe. I'm just trying to feel something and connect with this. And so, yeah, he took it in a lot of different directions, and I think he was right to do so. But in the moment, I'm very unsure about like what is happening here. What are we doing?
yeah, she can't really tell when she's tracking. She gets down, into that place where it's she's not really, I don't want to say she's not thinking, but she's just feeling. And she can't really tell A lot of times she'll say, "Oh, I think I got it on that take." I was like, "No, like
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
looking,
that's
like
right.
I know what I don't want, and I know what I do want as well." And it's just like, okay, let's just keep on going until I hear it, whatever it might be. I'm just looking for that emotional, beautiful, and I don't want to say perfect, but the thing that really um, makes the connection to the song for her. And I think to her point about where she can't tell, there are times where I can't tell either when I'm been working so much on a song. We have kind of an inner circle of people in the business, friends of ours, who at a certain point I'll send them, a preliminary mix or the song in the middle of its process, and just say, all right, like, what do you think? Like, am I missing something? You know, is it good? Is it not? I mean, sometimes I can't tell if I've been on it for so long. Uh, so we've got 3 or 4 people who I really trust that I'll send things to while we're in the process of making the record, and just to kind of pull my perspective back in. Sometimes I just, lose perspective.
And sometimes when that happens, I recall you'll just say, okay, I have to put this down for a while. I'm going to move on to a different track and I'll come back to this because you need to air out. So that's healthy.
Yeah, that's good. A good collaboration and people you can trust. How do you do the order of the songs? Do you put a lot of thought into that? How you're going to build that? Obviously, Runaway is a great closing track. You want to make that kind of have that finality to it, but like actually making that set list for your album, how do you come up with that?
Uh, it's real easy. I do about, 30 different versions. One day I'll be like, oh, I think it should be this. And then, 2 days later, like, no, I'm not so
Constantly
sure.
changing.
Yeah, I change it. So once the songs are finished, I'll load them up onto SoundCloud and just mess around with the order, um, and try to, there's a point where the cohesiveness and the feel of the record finally makes itself known. But when I'm first putting together the running order on the album, I'm I'm just taking my best guess and trying to get a feel for it all. Because until that point, when all the songs are done, I don't really know exactly where it's taking me. Uh, so the set list, how we decide on the running order, um, I really have to become familiar with all of it as, sort of each song in particular, but also the big picture of how they fit together. And what do we want the listener to experience if they listen to it like, old school, like it's an album that you put on the turntable. I still have that mentality when it comes to, the running order. Uh, so it takes there's layers of the onion being peeled back. I think it definitely takes me a good 15 or 20 passes at
Hmm.
getting running order the way I think it should be.
And sometimes there have been a couple of times where when you get to that point, you even question whether a particular song is right with the group. And sometimes we feel like, oh, we should take this off, we should remove it.
Which is usually
We
a
really
mistake.
love it, but
There was one song off that second record I wanted to pull off, and it turned to be one of the more popular songs. And it's like, oh, so I was
I
just,
fought you tooth and nail
I was
for that one.
overthinking it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you torture yourself with that. You might have a batch of songs. You want to really say, I really don't want to, more than 10 in this set. So, you're starting at 50 and trying to whittle that down. I'm sure that's going to be tough for a lot of artists.
But I also will solicit opinions from the inner circle, like, here's the running order, you know, or from our mix engineers, certainly one of them, our guy Rob is down in LA. I'll always ask him, like, what would be your running order on the record? I want to know what they think, because the people I really trust the most. I mean, I have a couple other people in the music business who are good friends and run it by them, but we have two different mix engineers, and they're the guys I really trust for giving a fresh perspective on where they think the album should go. And they look at it from a completely different point of view. Uh, Especially my friend Rob, who we worked with for years.
He's so knowledgeable.
Yeah,
He has great taste in music and
yeah.
totally
So
trust
Rob,
him.
he does a lot of sound library work as well as mixing for artists like us. And at the end of the day, he doesn't, when he finishes in the studio, he doesn't go out and watch TV or whatever. He has a whole separate room with his audio setup. He's got like a really good turntable, speakers, etc. He's a big audiophile, album collector. He'll just go in there and make himself a Manhattan and sit back and put on a record, and like that's his way of
Mm.
relaxing after spending 8-10 hours in the studio. So he's quite a music fan. He doesn't really play an instrument. He's kind of like a Rick Rubin type guy.
Yeah.
Rick Rubin doesn't play anything.
Right.
He's a listener. Our guy Rob, who mixes half the record. Eddie mixes half and Rob mixes half. Uh, he's a real listener, a real lover of music. So we have these two mix guys working for us who they each have their own style, but they blend really well. Like you couldn't tell if you listen to the record who mixed what. Uh, but uh, the advantage to having two guys who are really good and whose styles are compatible, I can get the record mixed twice as fast. Rob can
Very
be working
good.
on two songs here, and Eddie can be working on another song over there, and
Hmm.
so it makes the mix process faster. The recording process is slow. The mix process is relatively fast.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good. Yeah, you got to have a good listener. I think Rick Rubin is one of the premier ones out there. So,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
somebody who has that ear for it for the big things. It's really good. Yeah, totally. So, I really love the and now you don't do a whole lot of videos, or I do see some stuff up on YouTube. I love the Boot Scootin' title track video. Nice little concept there. Who are all our wonderful actors in there besides the band?
Um,
A lot of friends in that one.
yeah, we have a
Called in a lot of favors for
couple of
that one.
friends, and the dancing couple is she that did one or two previous videos with us a
Mhm.
while back, and the guy she's dancing with, that's her husband.
That's nice.
He's not really a professional dancer. She is. Uh, the bartender and the drunk sitting at the table, they're both really good.
Old dear friends.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact,
Oh,
the drunk, we cast our very good friend Greg as the drunk. And
He's also the singer, the background singer on the record.
yes,
He does all
um,
the male vocals.
yeah, he's so great.
Yeah, it's interesting because he loves to sing, and when we were um, when I really wanted to start using a male singer for the records, uh, the engineer that we worked with for a long time lived in LA, and he could never get up here, and he has a really good voice and sounds really good with Laura. So we were looking around for somebody else, and Laura said, "Well, our friend Greg sings." It's like, okay, yeah, he sings, but come on, we can't. Is he good enough to sing in the studio with us? It's like, oh well, you should ask him. So he sent me a demo or two of a couple songs he did. He has this like beautiful, clear kind of
Oh,
Johnny Mathis,
yeah,
oh,
velvety
yeah, velvet,
voice.
yeah.
I love his
But he had
voice.
never really worked in a studio, so it took a little while to like, okay, here are your headphones. You're in the isolation booth, you know. So it took him a little while, and he's not professionally trained. He's just an intuitive
Super
singer.
intuitive, yeah.
But he would like, okay, like sing this harmony, like sing this note, and he like struggle to find it, and then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, he's got it. You know,
hmm.
he's just that.
So, I mean, there's so many. details to the tracking. I mean, he didn't have the language yet, and then he started to learn, oh, could you put Laura over here, and turn her up and all, and put me over here. There are these little tricks that make the balance better. And
It's
then
one
they
thing
want you
that
to
it's one thing
give
that
it to
to karaoke along with the song. It's another to you're in the studio in the isolation booth. You got the headphones on. There's a lot of different things going on: drums,
absolutely,
bass, keyboards, guitar melodies,
absolutely.
lead vocals. Like, and then you have to pick your note out of all that.
And blend it. You have to figure out how to blend and
But
it's so good.
he's done great, and
Yeah.
he sounds really good on the record. So now because of him doing that, he gets first call for the videos. Uh, we're just
Very
about to
cool.
we're in the beginning process of doing the second video for the record, which is going to be for the song "Tempt My Fate." Um,
Yeah.
we're going to be shooting here in a couple of weeks, and there's some cinematography stuff going on in Nashville for that one, and so that's in the works. We're probably going to do three. We're probably going to do that one and one more video after that for this record.
Yeah, it really people stumble that on YouTube. Do you have one specific director who puts all these together like Boot Scootin, or do you have different people working on
Uh,
different videos?
we we really have only worked with one director. The very first video we ever did for Three Pairs of Boots, we actually were back in Nashville, um, right at the very beginning, right before the pandemic in 2020. It was freezing cold.
Eh,
Uh, and Laura ended up getting really sick the day after the shoot. There were 2 days of shooting, and it was like 10-hour days outside on a farm outside of Nashville, 30-degree weather. Um, in fact, we set aside one day after the video shoot. We're like, okay, we've never been to Nashville before. Let's go eat and drink and hang out all day long. Well, all day long turned to she was in bed in the hotel, sick
Oh,
all day. But besides that, we working with one a, a good friend of ours who's done a ton of music videos. He was the art director for Julian Lennon's last record, and he did the album cover. He shot like 6 videos for him, but he's done a bunch of we've got probably
So
6 videos
talented.
now up on our YouTube channel, and he's done all of them. Like we did a during the pandemic, we did an animated video for the song off the second record, Devil Road, uh, where he sort of created this whole video game thing going on. And then we did a Christmas song last year called "I Miss the Tree," and he did the video for that. And if you look at it, he did it in the style of an Advent calendar. So
yeah. Yeah.
it just sort of keeps on unfolding and expanding. It's really a cool video. But now we're doing for this record, we're going to be in it a lot more. Like in Boot Scootin, we're all over the place.
Right.
And for Tempt My Fate, we're going to be in there doing some live performing, playing along with the track as well. So
David is a genius, and he's another person within our work relationship that we've known for so long. We trust him implicitly, and he just has so many great ideas. I mean, in fact, he even shot the album cover for us. We went out and spent a day in the city, and he shot us around downtown. And watch out for him. He's going places in my book.
yeah,
David,
he's
amazing.
a really talented guy.
Mhm.
It's so important to have a team around you, people that you can rely upon, not just, musicians in a band, but, the video director, our mix engineers, these people that we really rely upon. We just, we can't do it all ourselves. It's really important to have these people that you establish relationships with that have, such creative talent that can help you um, with your vision uh, of what we want to do as artists. So it's really important, and we're very fortunate to have some very talented
Oh,
people to work
yes.
with.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really shows. Great new release and best wishes on all that. And I love the merch. As usual, you keep adding to that. That's very important to have that as part of your website. And where can we find you on the web? Just to let everybody know.
Uh, but it's three pairs of boots with the numeral three, threepairsofboots.com. And if you go onto YouTube, our YouTube channel is up there. We have a bunch of videos up there. I don't know if you remember, we did this cooking show a few years back.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Pandemic.
forgot about that.
Those videos are still up there. Um, there's actually a lost episode of the cooking show that that we didn't put out. We had a friend of ours come on as a sidekick character to me, um, uh, and he was he was known as Stony Pony.
It was a puppet.
It was a puppet, a horse puppet,
Nice.
and it was Laura liked it a lot. I'm unsure about releasing it.
I'm bugging him. I'm bugging Andrew to bring that back. Just put it out there because it's so darn cute.
Yeah, why not?
Not.
So yeah, so that's where you can find us. You can find us on, of course, we're on all the social media, but the best place to get us is on the website threepairsofboots.com. All the latest pictures are up there, and or on our YouTube channel.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for stopping by. I really enjoyed it and getting the update from y'all, and you keep going on and keep producing. It's fantastic to see that.
Well, and great to see you as well. Great to see that you're
You look
still
wonderful.
doing it. We're following you on Instagram, so we see what you're
Thanks.
up to.
Oh, cool. That's really nice. I appreciate that. Have a good one. And now we'll probably do it again one day soon at the next album.
The next
Thanks so
album.
much.
Thanks.
Take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'm glad you really enjoyed that. It's also, guess what? Today is National Teal Day. So I'm gonna start doing stuff up in teal. That would be nice. It's also National Family Day. So it's got to remind you to spend more time with the family, whatever type of family that you have. But most of all, what I really, really like is it National Pot Pie Day. Pie. It's wonderful. I love pot pie. Haven't had one in a long time, but I always really enjoyed that. Anyway, thanks for stopping by and hope to see you soon.